The smile carved onto your face is no symbol of virtue. It is the seal of a slave. That gentle nod, those words swallowed back into the gut, the desperate avoidance of conflict, these are not signs of a noble soul. They are symptoms of a rotting spirit. Society has forged an invisible chain, an ancient lie whispered into the ears of the weak, that being harmless, easygoing, and a people-pleaser is the height of morality. This is the ultimate deception. It is a psychological poison meticulously designed to keep the masses docile, predictable, and stripped of all power. This world is divided by an absolute, ruthless, and irreversible law. There are masters, and there are slaves. There are architects of reality, and there are drifters swept away by the noise. Shrinking yourself to make others feel comfortable is not an act of grace. It is the voluntary abdication of the throne. Look into the mirror of your current existence. The image there is a laboriously constructed lie. A mask, persona, molded from the approval of strangers. You do not compromise out of wisdom. You compromise out of fear. You do not preserve peace. You are burying your own power. You do not turn the other cheek out of holiness. You turn it because your hands no longer possess the strength to strike back. This is the truth that will burn through all illusions. The nice guy is merely a hollow shell, hiding an inner self that trembles in terror before the judgment of the world. Your kindness is not virtue. It is a cowardly survival strategy. You are rejecting your own shadow, denying your most primal self, and the price paid to the universe is absolute impotence. You stand there, utterly invisible in the corridors of power, while those who dare to embrace their ruthless nature ascend to the summit. They issue commands, they hand down decrees, they seize the crown. Meanwhile, the polite suffer the slow, agonizing decay of the great potential within them. To touch the throne, to become the mastermind who manipulates destiny, one must be willing to commit an act of internal destruction. You must be willing to kill the nice guy that lives like a parasite in your mind. The numinous and ancient forces of the psyche demand absolute balance. When the sacred and primal energy, the shadow, is suppressed, it does not vanish. It ferments. It putrefies. It transforms into a toxic frequency. Face that darkest energy. It is not sin. It is the raw, unbridled power of creation and destruction. It is the authority waiting to be proclaimed. When submission ends, when the apologies for your own existence are burned away, the momentum of reality will shift instantly. Stop obeying, begin decreeing. The subjugation of the external world is inevitable. The darkness at 3 a.m. holds no silence. It holds the muffled scream of a stifled entity. You bolt upright in the dead of night. Your throat is parched. Your chest is heavy with an invisible dread. A cold sweat breaks from the deepest reaches of the subconscious. This is not mere insomnia. This is not the common stress of humanity. This is the ancient punishment of the shadow. This is the exorbitant price paid for donning the tattered mask, persona, of a slave by day. To reject the true self in order to fit into the narrow molds of society is a crime against nature, and the universe always collects its debt. Under the cold office lights, fake smiles are on display. Resigned nods, submissive bows. The tumor of resentment swells in your chest every time someone more ruthless, more shameless, steps forward to seize the crown. The protest is swallowed. The rage is buried. Bury. Screams tear at the internal eardrums, yet the lips maintain a docile curve. People mistake this for patience. The drifter calls it professionalism. The true masterminds of reality call it the decay of a soul. Carl Jung exposed a ruthless, irreversible law. Everything denied becomes a monster. The shadow contains primal instinct, brutal survival strength, and the most sacred energy. When this energy is imprisoned in the dungeon of kindness, it does not vanish. It ferments. It becomes poison. It turns back to consume the host. Anxiety does not come from the outside world. Anxiety is the rebellion of the internal reality. Anxiety is the echo from the abyss, where a sovereign is being shackled by the cowardice of his own internal subjects. You are not at peace. You are rotting. You are not avoiding conflict. You are inviting exploitation. You are not humble. You are terrified. The slave swallows anger to trade for a flickering, pathetic existence. The architect releases rage to forge an empire. The world is forever divided into two eternal poles, those crushed under the weight of a false smile, and the masters who rule through ruthless truth. Observe those who occupy the throne out there. They are not kind. They do not care for the comfort of the crowd. They carry a frequency of absolute authority. They do not deny the shadow. They integrate it. They make the darkness obey. They turn the poison into a blueprint for an impregnable fortress. While the easygoing are busy shrinking to become invisible, the rulers are expanding to swallow the world. A nice person's hunger for recognition is the lethal weakness that power manipulates every single day. When the teeth refuse to show fangs, the creature becomes prey. When the throat refuses to roar, the voice remains lost in the frequency of bland noise. It never reaches the sacred silence of emperors. Burying instinct does not make one a saint. It only turns one into a decaying stone statue, crushed under the wheels of a bloodline of chains. The existence of a people-pleaser is a slow death sentence. This tattered mask, persona, is not a psychological shield. It is a dark dungeon. The drifters imprison themselves within it, desperately begging the world to forgive them for their very presence. They do not live. They are only avoiding death. They do not create. They only react. They do not emit the frequency of power. They only absorb the stinging noise of the crowd. This universe has no pity for weakness. The universe does not hear silent pleas. The supreme law of nature never rewards docility. It only crushes and destroys, demolish those who lack the courage to step up and seize the throne. When an individual rejects the shadow, they strip themselves of their most primal and potent weapon. The most sacred and numinous energies do not dwell in the heavens of light. They swirl at the bottom of the deepest abyss of consciousness. The fierce survival instinct, ruthless decisiveness, the ability to issue an absolute command, all these treasures are currently buried beneath the decaying grave of fake politeness. The slave holds onto a bloodline of chains, passing down the poison of timidity from one generation to the next. The master severs those chains. The master creates a legacy fortress by summoning ancient rage, forged it into a blueprint of domination. You are poisoning your own soul every day. You delude yourself into thinking that silent endurance, yielding to the aggressive tyranny of others, is an expression of high character. No, the ruthless truth is that you are allowing decay to gnaw at your essence. You are coddling the nice guy, allowing it to drain your life force until nothing remains but a hollow, soulless, and utterly helpless shell. The craving for approval is a terminal illness. It burn all great potential. It turns a potential emperor into an anonymous pawn on someone else's board. No authority in this world is born from concession. Authority must be seized with the absolute certainty of the mind. The vibration of the weak will only attract more exploitation. The mastermind understands a cold fact. All greatness must begin with a slaughter, kill in the mind. The image of the harmless one must be smashed. The prejudice of cheap amiability must be incinerated. The noise of the world drowns out weak souls. The silence of the dark is where the sovereigns sharpen their blades. Integrating the shadow is not an option. It is a mandatory decree. The evolution of the soul requires the reabsorption of the wildest and most dangerous parts that have been denied. When poison is controlled, it becomes an elixir. When anger is released with intent, it builds empires. An inevitable fate is passing judgment right now. Either rise as a mastermind of reality, or continue to rot under the boots of those who know how to use their darkness. History is never written by the weak. It is forged by the brutal hands of titans. This physical world is a massive machine, and it obeys only one supreme decree: power. Carl Jung unearthed the great truth of the shadow. Napoleon Hill decoded the frequency of the mastermind. These two great ideologies converge at an ancient and numinous law. It is the transmutation of raw energy into supreme authority. No legacy fortress is built on the foundation of being easygoing. No crown is cast in the fires of concession. Power never comes from denying the self. It comes from merging every dark corner, every ounce of ruthlessness, and every primal flame into a single iron will. Observe Henry Ford, witness John D. Rockefeller. They were never people-pleasers. They did not drown in the noise of petty judgments. They reigned in the absolute silence of architects. When faced with resistance, they did not retreat. They demolish. When faced with boundaries, they did not negotiate. They burn. They did not hope for change. They command a new reality into existence. Their greatness did not lie in the deceptive morality society uses to lull the masses to sleep. Their greatness lay in the fact that they fully possessed the instinct of a sovereign. They used their inner ruthlessness, their roughest edges, to draw the blueprint for eternal empires. The drifter reads about great men and deludes himself into thinking success comes from hollow positive thinking. That is the poison of ignorance. It is a self-deception meant to soothe the decay bloodline of chains. Great men do not smile to beg for recognition. They carry an overwhelming vibration, a frequency of the inevitable. Their presence crushes all doubt. Wherever they set foot, reality is forced to bend to their will. They have kill weakness. They have bury hesitation. They are masters. They have eternally separated themselves from the anonymous herd of slaves. You are standing at the edge of a psychological abyss. You crave the throne, yet you tremble as you cling to the identity of a servant. You pray for a miracle, but you reject the sacred power growling beneath your polite exterior. No force in this world can grant authority to a soul that voluntarily wears a yoke. The universe responds only to commands, not to complaints. You do not wait. You act. You do not hope. You know. You do not ask for permission to exist. You establish your territory. The integration of the shadow is not a philosophical game. It is the final leap to seize your destiny. Bloodline is not merely a continuation of the physical body. Bloodline is a flow of frequency and vibration passed from one generation to the next. The slave unconsciously accepts a bloodline of chains. They inherit the poison of submission, timidity, and fear of the crowd. They allow the decay of previous generations to continue gnawing at their own future. Weakness is disguised under the veil of pretend morality and hollow docility. The mastermind rejects this stagnant flow. The mastermind stands up, wielding the sword of will to utterly sever these invisible psychological chains. They burn cowardly dogmas. They bury the teachings of resignation. They construct a legacy fortress through their own sacred silence and brutal strength. To wear the crown, a ruthless identity shift must be executed. Identity cannot be patched together. It must be demolished and rebuilt. The drifter clings to the identity of a victim, always seeking empathy in the noise of failures. The architect forged, an entirely new identity from the fire of the shadow. Authority is never granted by the outside world. Authority must be seized by an absolute decree from the depths of consciousness. You must manually kill the old weak identity that has taken root in your mind. You must demolish every altar of meaningless compromise. Reality is a machine that follows the law blindly. When a sovereign awakens, the physical universe is forced to rearrange its order. This is an inevitable truth. Concession never buys respect. It only stimulates the brutal greed of exploiters. The world is always split into two poles. Either you are crushed under the wheels of others, or you take the wheel yourself to build an empire. The ancient darkness within the soul contains the blueprint of domination. Those numinous energies were not born to be suppressed. They were born to be released, to become weapons, to issue the command to everything around you. Your existence is not a negotiation with the world. Your existence is an absolute imposition. You do not wait for permission. You act. You do not justify your choices. You establish them as truth. You do not retreat from conflict. You walk through it with the posture of one who holds destiny. The fake smiles are dead. The cowardly bows have been incinerated. When you stand tall, carrying the silence of the dark and the sharpness of intellect, the entire surrounding magnetic field changes instantly. The exploiter will sense the frequency of destruction aimed at their schemes. The crowd will feel the weight of an uncrowned king. You are no longer one who pleases the world. You are the master of your internal reality, the only one with the power to bend and reshape the entire external physical world. At this very moment, a supreme command is issued to tear through the veil of illusion. Stand up straight, stretch every vertebra of your spine, thrust your chest forward, take a breath that contains all the ancient silence into the depths of your core. The body is not a soulless machine. The body is an antenna, transmitting the frequency of the mind's power. When the shoulders slouch and the chest narrows, that is the posture of a slave. It is the mark of a bloodline of chains, forever waiting for the lash of judgment from the crowd. When the spine stands erect like a cosmic axis, it is the perfect blueprint of an impregnable fortress. The drifter hunches under the weight of noise. The architect rises to reach for the crown. You no longer flinch. You no longer shrink to please anyone. You expand. Feel the vibration of authority surging along your spinal cord. Let the poison of timidity, hesitation, and fear be crushed under the pressure of your expanding chest. Kill the instinct to bow immediately. Burn the cowering, pathetic stance. Bury the averted gaze. This is not advice on body language. This is depth psychology anchoring. This is the act of summoning numinous power to establish the existence of a sovereign. You do not apologize for your presence. You establish it as a truth. You do not avoid the gaze of others. You pierce through their souls with absolute self-respect. You do not lower your voice to appease. You issue a decree from the depths of an integrated shadow. The mastermind manipulates reality by manipulating their own body. When the chest expands, the surrounding space is instantly compressed. When the gaze is cold and motionless, the time of the opponent is instantly frozen. All barriers will be demolished. Decay of the old identity is complete, making way for an immortal entity to step onto the stage. Changing your posture is the first step toward the throne. The physical universe is a blind mirror, following the law unconditionally. When the posture of a king appears, the world has no choice but to automatically kneel. This is an inevitable conclusion. The exploiters and manipulators out there are cunning predators. They smell weakness from miles away. But when faced with the sacred silence radiating from an unyielding body, their instincts will automatically signal doom. They will retreat. They will submit to the majesty of the ruler. There is no delay allowed in this dimension. Power demands immediate action. Do not wait until tomorrow to start forged an empire. Do not hesitate to use the power surging in your veins. Every hesitation is a betrayal of the soul. Put on the invisible crown with an iron will. Let your deep breath pierce through the chaos of the world. Wherever you go, you do not walk the path of the herd. You carry the magnetic field of a ruler, carving the mark of a master onto every fragment of reality. The transformation has begun, and no force can reverse it. The furnace of transformation does not accept those who enter with half a heart. The physical universe has no room for compromise. Authority is not a gift granted from above. Authority is a decree that must be issued and enforced by an iron will. At this very moment, a permanent boundary has been drawn. The bloodline of chains ends here. The poison of cowardice has been purged. The slave is dead. The master has awakened. You are no longer a victim of circumstances. You are the mastermind manipulating every consequence. You do not beg for attention in the noise. You reign in absolute silence. The drifter continues to gnaw on the decay of a redundant life. The architect finishes the blueprint of an empire with blood, tears, and the fire of will. Burying Barry, the nice guy, is not a fleeting event. It is an inevitable law of evolution. When the rotting mask is burned, the true form of a sovereign finally emerges. Let the shadow rise. Let the most ancient and sacred strength blend into every breath, every muscle, and every nerve cell. Spine erect, chest open, eyes motionless, piercing through every mist of illusion. You do not make excuses. You do not tremble. You do not wait for an uncertain tomorrow. You issue the command to reality immediately. The vibration of power must pierce every barrier. The frequency of majesty must crush every doubt. When you walk out of here, every step must carry the weight of a king reviewing his troops on his own territory. Do not look back at the ruins. Do not mourn the weak self that was just slaughtered. Kill. That old shadow must be utterly demolished. Demolish, to make way for greatness. The bloodline of chains only brings the sighs of resentment from the bottom of the mud. The legacy fortress brings eternal endurance on the highest summit. Power never smiles upon those who cower. Power only grants the crown to those who dare to reach out and seize it. There is no pity. There is no turning back. You do not wait. You act. You do not hope. You know. You move forward. You forged destiny. You bend the world. Wherever your shadow falls, it becomes the throne of domination. The numinous forces are watching. They only obey those who possess the nature of a ruthless conqueror. Carve this image into your consciousness, a wax mask melting in a glowing red fire, falling in pieces into the ashes of timidity. From within that fire, a pitch-black, gargantuan, and silent figure steps out. This is not a mere human being of flesh and blood. This is the embodiment of primal power. This is you, the sovereign stepping onto the final stair of the throne, hands dripping with the blood of the executed Niskai, head wearing a crown cast from the most ruthless truth. The universe is dead silent. The noise is eternally extinguished. Only the frequency of domination remains. The decree has been issued. Reality has been broken. The greatest conquest of the soul has officially begun.